Hello, hello, and welcome into another Let's Stream of Civilization 6, where we have John Curtin, one of the DLC champs, or leaders, or whatever, that's been released. And he was so good at the start, he's already been nerfed. But sometimes we have a hard time finding nice things to say about somebody's abilities, and that is not the case for Mr. Curtin, because pretty much everything he has is useful. Sometimes you have extremely situational abilities, and then sometimes you just have really good abilities all on one leader. And that's the case with Australia here. So we'll start with Citadel of Civilization. You get 100% production, also known as double production, if they've received a declaration of war or if they've liberated a city. So that's really, really strong. It's nice early because you usually do get declared on, and you can crank out settlers, you can crank out military units, you can crank out kind of whatever it is you're trying to do. So that's maybe his most situational one, but winds up being extremely useful, at least once or twice throughout the game. So then we have Land Down Under, which is just good. +3 housing in coastal cities. So your coastal cities essentially start with fresh water. You usually have at least one coastal city throughout the game, and I believe you have a coast bias with him, so winds up being pretty useful. Only thing there is, you know, if you don't start on a river, you still have weaker commercial hubs, but doesn't wind up mattering because the rest of this ability, you get pastures that trigger culture bomb, so you get more territory, which is crazy because we know how much I like to buy tiles and have all the territory. So maybe this will save me some money specifically, and for others it's just good. It also means you usually start by pastures, and we know that we like what is it, God of the Open Sky? Is that the right one? That gives you the extra culture from pastures. So pastures wind up being pretty good, darn good tiles anyways. And then, of course, the bread and butter yields from campuses, commercial hubs, holy sites, and theater squares are +1 in tiles with charming appeal and +3 in breathtaking. That used to be, I think, +2 and +4. Is that what it was? Pre-nerf? Something like that. But it basically means that as long as you have high appeal, you can get really good campuses, commercial sites, holy sites, theater squares. So you can play John Curtin almost any way you want. You could attempt a religious victory. You could try for a culture one, which is a little bit tempting, although we are going to very quickly have both Congo and Brazil. And these are going to be 2 attempts at a culture victory. So I don't know that we have to do that with him, but it is an interesting idea because it's very hard to get theater square bonuses early. You know, you can kind of get a half one by being next to your capital and then, you know, district bonuses, but there aren't really, you know, there's no like mountain or forest or jungle bonus to theater squares. So they kind of being raw. They kind of wind up being raw in the beginning, and having just extra culture from the district itself is really, really good. And then you can couple that with social policies and or governmental policies that boost it. So that is interesting. My default, my inclination with him is to go for a space race victory. But we'll just kind of play the early game aggressively like we do and just see what happens. It is a cool idea. The Digger, he gets a unique modern era unit, replaces the infantry. You know, modern era is okay. This is again kind of situational. You get extra combat strength when fighting on coastal tiles and extra combat strength when fighting in neutral foreign territory. So it winds up being slightly aggressive, but it's not that huge of a boost. You can get these strengths, these boosts with just promotions and stuff. So, you know, as any unique unit goes, it's kind of lackluster in Civ 6 in my opinion. Map size will we go for? Probably just typical. I mean, I really did enjoy that Fractal game, so if you guys want to see something different, that's fine. But it kind of... 6 players tends to be plenty for me anyways. Oh, type. Yeah. I don't know. He could be really good on a Fractal, too, because of the charming appeal and things like that. So, we could kind of go anyway with that. I'd be curious of your suggestions. And then we have the Outback Station, which is a unique tile improvement, which I am on record as saying I don't love, but we've used it to some acclaim and some success in our series here. So I've come around on the unique tile improvements at least a little bit. You don't want to have all of them, like all your tile improvements, be the unique ones, but if you use a few here and there throughout the game, it's quite good. The Outback Station is sort of the exception to that rule because you get extra food and production, and then additional food for each adjacent pasture, and then additional food and production as you advance throughout the trees. And you can only build it on flatland, which is crazy because you get to add production to where you would normally just have farms. And we've talked at great length about sort of the lack of farms that I build. And so adding production to that is good. Now, the tricky thing about Australia is this. This winds up being really, really good early, but if you've been watching any of the series, you know I like to hit my builder mode and then have all the mines, right? Because mines are amazing for production. You can produce more stuff, blah, 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 blah. Can only built in desert hills, true, grassland and plains tiles. So yeah, you can do grassland hills. Could make the map wetter, wink. More forest and rainforest. Yeah, that's a good idea. We're probably going to do that a few times coming up here again with between Pedro and Mavemba. He's we like rainforest and things, so we could maybe do that here. But so to finish up this point and get into the game, because this is appeal based, if you build a bunch of mines and lumber mills, you take away from the appeal of adjacent tiles. So you have to be really, really specific with the way that you map out your districts and plan your cities, because you could too early build a bunch of mines and take away from the bonus. So you want the bonus to kind of tick, just cycle over and over and over early before you kind of kill it. Now, the bonus doesn't matter later on too much, right? Like an extra 5 science in the beginning, for example, is amazingly strong. And then at the end of the game, when you have between 200 and 300 science per turn, you're not going to miss it. So there's kind of a fine point in the game where you lose the bonus a little bit, but it's fine. We'll figure it out. I haven't fully mastered him, but we will. We'll be fine. All right. Yeah, I almost do want a desert. He is an excellent Petra guy, right? Anybody that has a unique tile improvement and can get the Petra and improve the desert tiles even further is insane. So Outback Station plus Petra equals GG. Winds up being insane. But yeah, he's overall, I think, one of the stronger champs. I like, again, I have an inclination towards anybody who can build good districts, and he can do that at least early on. So can be very, 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 very fun, very strong. Map type. I don't know. I think it's just continents. It's either continents or fractal. We just did fractal, though. Granted, we've done a lot of continents as well. I don't know, standard continents, and then you're thinking about making it wetter. Do we want to do that? But rainforest is actually negative appeal. So I don't know that I want to do that. Rainforest is really, really poor appeal. We want mountains. Mountains give high appeal. Mountains and coast kind of are what we want, which is why the fractal is quite interesting. Fractal is obviously high RNG. It'd be very, very random. So I don't know. I think maybe we'll just leave it. We'll just leave on the normal, the balanced, and we'll jump into this. Oh, for the chops, yeah, that's true. That's true. You can chop the rainforest and grow your cities and get some extra production and stuff early. You can adjust the world age, yeah, and add more mountains. So if we make the world age new, you get more hills and mountains. And then old is flatter. So, but yeah, I think we'll just leave it on the normies. All right, let's see what we got, guys.
From the first stirrings of life beneath water, to the great beasts of the Stone Age, to man taking his first upright steps, you have come far. Now begins your greatest quest. from this early cradle of civilization on towards the stars. Prime Minister Curtin, you will lead Australia through challenge after challenge, and your people will emerge all the stronger for it. Others will seek friendship for your strength. If these friends prove loyal, your might and protection will carry you far. But stay vigilant, for aggression is not your natural course.
Wow. He's only prime minister for 4 years and died in office. Rough life. Rough life, guys. All right. Did that go just so fast, or did I walk away for far too long? Okay. So let's take a look at our starting position. We have a pasture. Ooh, we have some nearby spices. We have tundra with a wonder on it. We've got an insane food sugar tile on a marsh. Horses. What could be an excellent harbor. Overall, kind of interesting. Seems to have been in vogue back then. Dying in office, in vogue. So first thing we can look at is our appeal. We don't have any crazy appeal. Oops. Because we don't have mountains. But we do have charming in most places, even apparently on the desert because of the wonder. So that is interesting. This, I would love to be near the spices. It's not too shabby. I agree. It's not exactly a dream start. Now, the one thing that you'll notice is we don't actually have that many hills, and that's not necessarily a bad thing for Australia. Normally, I would look at the lack of hills and go, crap, this is the worst. But that's not a huge issue here. So, let's see. Opening moves. We could move and found here, same turn, to get a pretty crazy harbor. And then we would grow into the horses, which we could then culture bomb, and we could grow into the cattle, which we could then culture bomb for some nice territory. The dream is to start with the spices. So to do that, we'd have to move 1, 2, and found turn 3, but then we would have crazy food and a decent production tile. So it would make up for the move, for sure. If we move here, we move out of range of this. And we also kind of want to consider our flatlands because of the Outback Stations. I think plains in general are better for the Outback Stations because you add food anyways, and then it kind of turns them into high production. Big question is, why is there a river near spices? Oh, is there a river near spices? Yeah, that's true, though we don't necessarily need the river, right? I think the first thing we should do, again, since we don't really have hills, is probably just move onto this sugar with our warrior. Just to see what else we might pick up with a city spot of here. I don't love coastal cities. It's something that we're going to have to deal with Australia. Lack of mountains makes me concerned. I wonder if we moved over here if there would be more mountains. But let's start with this move and just see what we can see. So definitely tundra. Definitely a lot of tundra. And that is not ideal. We'd get our production primarily from Outback Stations. Remove the marsh and make a +3 campus there. Here? So, appeal is charming. And you'd override the sugar for a campus. Marsh is just food. Doesn't necessarily say negative appeal. Morning, how you doing, man? I think it is just subtle here because of the culture bombs. It's going to give us a lot of space. We can also we can put our Outback Stations on the tundra, can't we? Oh, look up the appeal. Right. Yeah, okay, you're right. -1 for each adjacent rainforest, marsh, or floodplain. That is a good point. Metal. Metalesis. Yeah, so we lose appeal for mines, quarries, obviously pillage tiles, rainforest, marsh, floodplain, industrial zone. Now, I thought lumber mills were in that group, but maybe not. +1 for each adjacent mountain, coast, woods, or oasis. Do lumber mills not? Okay, so no reduction from lumber mills. All right, so that makes these pretty darn good. And then, yeah, I think we can use our Outback Station on the tundra. So where is the Outback Station? This is going to be a long first vid. It is in the culture tree. I know that. At least I'm fairly certain. There we go. Guilds. So getting towards guilds. Oh, and we get a half housing for it, too. That's so nice. +1 production for each 2 adjacent Outback Station tiles. Requires steam power. Okay. So we want to get to guilds. I don't feel like that's too hard. And steam power is pretty far. Steam power. Flight makes it better. There's our digger. Replaceable parts. There's steam power. Okay. Rapid deployment is extra food. Food, I'm not. I really want the production. So, how good is our production if we settle here? We'd have to get a harbor. So, no commercial hub in our opening, which is actually a bummer, right? Because sometimes we get the great merchant that increases the appeal in the city, right? That's a merchant, right? Not an engineer. So you get +1 appeal in all the in all your tiles in that city, which can help our adjacency bonuses. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Not sure how to say TGIF in German. Indeed. Yeah, I think let's just found here. We can rapidly grow with the 5 sugar tile. Our production's going to be low for a while, but then we can also look at God of the Open Sky for the culture here, which would help us get to our Outback stations. And then, yeah, I don't think the Tundra is such a negative for us because we can improve it. Normally, Tundra sucks because you can't farm it. You can, and it's low food and stuff. You can put mines and improve the various things. But if we can put our Outback station on it, we're not so bad. Sugar equals food, so American. I just want some high fructose corn syrup. That is our main export. So we'll get decent production from the deer as well. And then, yeah, culture bombing and stuff. So let's do this. And then we'll have to look at our second city over there by the spices. Okay, so we're certainly going to be working that food tile. We get to grow in 3 turns. Obviously, we're not going to grow into too many good tiles, but 8 turns we'll have border growth, and that'll either be the deer or the horses. So, not too bad. We obviously have a very, very slow slinger because we don't have any boosts to production early on. So, we need corn then, indeed. Yes. Give me some dog nuts. Yeah. Not an ideal capital, really, as far as my standards go, but we'll wing it. And we'll always start with our slinger. And rewind here. Back into archery, as we do. But let's not queue it up quite yet. I like my slow, deliberate queuing time. And then the warrior we might cut across so that we can go over here and make sure that no one else is over near us. Because it doesn't look like we're going to find a whole lot more, and we have a very slow second unit, so I think that'll be fine. Curious to... I can't remember what wonder is this. Is this Yosemite? Is this an ugly, bad Yosemite? With the science and culture? I kind of think it is. Love the Aussie housing, yeah. So, for anybody who doesn't know, we have... Normally, you would only have, like, 4 housing possible here, but, yeah. We get to not worry about fresh water with the Aussies, which is really, really nice. So, all right, let's put a cut in here. This is a fairly lengthy first video, but lots to talk about because a particularly useful dude in John Curtin. So, thanks for watching, and tune in for the next episode.